Welcome to the Imperfect Dads Podcast. This is your host, Devin. We believe dads care deeply about their family and kids, but they don't always have a space to discuss what their life looks like. Our podcast is a space for dads to discuss the ups and downs of fatherhood and how they feel like they're holding it together or how they're not. Thank you for joining us for this episode. This podcast is part of the Never a Face Network. Make sure to follow them on Instagram or go to the website neverafacenetwork.com. On this episode, we have on Josh Caterer from Smokin' Popes. We talked about being an empty nester, feeling like there's got to be a better name instead of empty nester, reflecting on how fast time goes, driving a school bus, leading worship at churches, thoughts on his upcoming tour, and wanting to be around for defining the next phase of life with his wife. Make sure to go to smokinpopesmusic.com or their Instagram Smokin' Popes Music to find their tour dates and how to get tickets and go catch one of their shows this summer. Just like one more thing.
Dad, just start the episode.
Oh, my bad. Josh, welcome to an episode of The Imperfect Dads. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Devin. Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Well, let's start with like a very easy first question is, how many kids you got, ages, all that good stuff?
I have two kids. My son, Elliot, is 25. My daughter, Phoebe, is just turned 21. She is in her junior year in college, and Elliot he lives up in East Troy, Wisconsin, and he's a contractor, carpenter, kind of does a lot of rehabs of, if you need your kitchen redone, he's the guy. If you need new beams put up in your house or whatever, he does a lot of that sort of rebuild somebody's basement. He does that sort of thing and loves it. Both our kids are moved out. A couple of years ago, we entered what is known as the empty nest phase of life. Although my wife does not like to call it that because there's something inherently negative in that description of it. Like like it's worded in such a way that there's like something missing from your life. And but she hasn't come up with a better term for it, but I usually try to avoid the term empty nesting because of that. But that's where we're at in life. Our kids have moved out.
Well, I guess this doesn't feel complimentary if you told me something was empty about me. I wouldn't consider that. Like I can't, I'm trying to think of where a positive thing would be in which like, this is empty about you is like, that all seems like a veiled insult of some sort.
Right. Like you're supposed to be a glass half full kind of a person. So then why would you embrace a label on your life that has the word empty right in there? But I've always, I don't know, I appreciate that philosophy, but I dig this word picture of like you're a bird, you're a couple of birds, and your little fledgling birds have all grown up and flown away, and now you have the nest back to yourself, and you can kind of decorate it however you want. You can put the twigs where you want them finally. You don't have to pick up stray little feathers all the time from other people. You can eat all the worms yourself. You don't have to give them the little gaping mouths all the time. It's a positive thing, I think.
Yeah. I am so fascinated to know what our grocery budget is going to look like when all three of my kids are out of the house. Because like right now it is like pretty big because we've got the friends coming over for snacks and all that stuff too. And I'm like, in 15 years from now, like, what's this going to look like whenever I'm not cooking for 5, maybe 6 people, depending on who's around?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I remember. And then when our son was a teenager, our cereal bill was ridiculous because he would find like this huge salad bowl and dump and put like half the box, literally half the box of cereal in there, so that an entire box of cereal was only 2 sittings for him. And so, I don't know, we just were like, you know what? I think no more cereal. We're cutting you off.
Yeah. At least now there's like protein cereal. Because like I feel like my kids will do those like spaghetti noodles where they will just inhale like a pound of spaghetti like in 5 minutes. But if I'm like, hey guys, it's protein, so it'll fill you up differently, they then will like back off a little bit. Like that scares them or like makes them be like, oh, I better respect the noodles. And now sometimes I don't buy the protein noodles, but still tell them it's the protein noodles, and then they back off a little bit. So little tricks here and there.
Lying to your children as a parenting strategy. Nice, really nice.
No, I mean I'm fibbing. It's playfully fibbing. Yeah, it's lying. It's straight up lying. Yeah, without question.
Yeah, I mean, don't sugarcoat it. Call it what it is.
Man, what was your son's favorite cereal? Because I remember eating a ton of like cinnamon toast crunch as a kid, and now I'm like, I will never let my kids eat cinnamon toast crunch because it's just cinnamon sugar disguised as nutrition.
Right. I mean, it's tasty, but it's not.
Mm-hmm.
Although I do remember, looking at the box and thinking that cereal doesn't have as much sugar in it as you would think. It has less sugar content than some other ones that we've eaten. But his go-to was Honey Bunches of Oats. That's kind of what we would mostly do around here.
Okay.
Honey Bunches of Oats.
Nice.
So, there's a little bit of fiber in there. It's a little bit of, it's kind of
Yeah.
good for you.
Some health value. Yeah, of course. Yeah. My mom always told me whenever I'm the youngest of three, and whenever I went off to college, she always told me like the moment where it hit hardest that we were all gone were like Sunday night dinners. Like that was the moments where she would be like, for her weekly rhythms, be like, oh man, all three of the kids are like out of the house. Are you guys still finding moments where you're like, man, all the kids are out of the house? Or is it kind of like normalized now since your daughter's like a junior in college?
When we first took her to college, we had kind of a sad week. I think, it was like a rough transition for about a week. We dropped her off. Her college is only a half hour from our house or 35 minutes away from our house. So it's not like
Okay.
that far away, but she moved to campus. So she officially, was moving out of our house for the duration of the school year. And I remember when we took her, we dropped her off, we came home, and I don't know, we were just sort of like, there was a feeling of malaise that set in, and it like lasted for a week, and it wasn't like any particular activity. It mostly was kind of missing. I think probably the thing that we missed the most was that our daughter sings a lot. Like if she's in the house, you'll hear her just singing. If she's off in her room or in some other part of the house, you'll just hear her singing. And it sort of creates this lovely background atmosphere. And so the house just seemed unnaturally quiet. So we were sad for a week, but then we got into this rhythm of doing other things, and we sort of, developed, ways of filling our time that we otherwise couldn't.
Yeah.
And, it didn't take long before we were like, this is nice, actually.
Yeah.
And both of our kids, I mean, our daughter is, like I said, only 35 minutes away, but our son is only like an hour 45 away. So we see him pretty regularly. So our kids are still part of our lives, but we have this kind of uh, nucleus of protected space and time in our home where we can just do what we choose to do with it, which is nice.
Yeah.
No, I was just going to just wax poetic about how this is like all of life, where like whenever some sort of a change happens moving forward in time, like you're mourning a loss, and then you're also excited about a new chapter that has aspects and opportunities that the last one didn't have. That's certainly, I think, true of parenting. Like your kids are little and you're like exasperated because they're running you ragged and you're not getting a lot of sleep, and you're going in a million directions, and it's so like, oh man, I can't wait till I can settle down. But then you move into the next phase, they grow up a little bit, and then the next thing you know, you're like, there was something really special about having little kids. There was a tenderness to that amid all the chaos of it. That, I mean, those people are still here, but they've changed. And so there is a particular kind of parent-child relationship that you have when your kids are little that you don't have anymore. And then, so that it's a loss. I'll see sometimes a dad like walking in the store with like a 3 or 4 year old kid holding their hand, and
Mm-hmm.
it'll make me nostalgic for that period, and I'll get a little wispy.
Mhm.
But like I miss that. But then, like, would I trade my current relationship with either of my kids for that? No, because then I'd really miss talking to them now. I have a much obviously more fully orbed relationship with the adult version of my kids, and I love the people that they've become. It's just that there's a special little thing about having little kids that and it makes you feel a certain way to have a kid like look up at you and be
Yeah.
like, Dad, you know, they trust you.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They eventually learn they can't trust you completely.
Because you're lying about cereal and protein and noodles. That's what.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's a certain sweetness to it. Like my 4.5-year-old still is like in the moment of like going to the zoo with him is amazing because everything is exciting, everything is magical. In our backyard, we think there's two baby bunnies that are living underneath our porch. So he'll like go to the window and be like, Dad, 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 Dad. And I'm like, what is it? He's like, baby bunnies. And like, I know full well when he turns, whenever he's even like 7, he won't care that much. Like, so it's like this constant
Yeah.
tension of really loving to see his excitement and the simplicity and the beauty of it. But with the full knowledge of like, I'm going to love him also whenever he's a teenager and he's like, he's finding out who he is and stuff. So like, it's a lot to hold at once, and it's a lot of love that you're constantly interacting with in very like unique ways.
True.
Your son, did you guys like, did you do home improvement stuff around the house a lot? Like what made him want to go into like trades? Because I think that's really cool and that's a great skill set. But like, I feel like usually people who do that are because they grew up working on houses and doing stuff like that.
He didn't get that from me. It really just was, I think it was just a God ordained thing. He was just
Mm-hmm.
made that way
Cool.
because, first of all, I'm not handy and I don't really do home repairs. So I didn't teach him really anything. But I remember from the time he was relatively small, he would just build things like when he was maybe 6 or 7, he started building these elaborate forts.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the backyard, he would build forts where he would, take plywood and set it up and put a roof on it. And I think it was when he somehow obtained hinges and he put a door on this fort that was hinged. And he like put the screws in there and everything. And I might have shown him like this is how you hold a screwdriver at initially, but I didn't
Yeah.
I didn't take him through any building projects. He just sort of figured it out.
Yeah.
But when I saw those hinges, I was like, there's something going on here.
Mm-hmm.
And that's his thing. And then he built a volleyball net like out of strings. Like he took
Mm-hmm.
twine and like wove it together to make the net
That's
part
cool.
of it. And then he made the
Yeah.
frame and stuck those into the ground. And he just has always had that impulse to build. And then, our daughter has always had the music thing where she just started
Mm-hmm.
singing when she was really, really young, like maybe even 3 or 4. Like she started making up songs
That's so cool.
where like the songwriting gears were turning in there. So I was like, also like, obviously I'm a songwriter, but it's not like I sat down and said like, okay, here's how you write a song. I think you just either have that or you don't, and
Mm-hmm.
you can refine it. Any kind of musical talent or creative talent is like you can develop your technique and sort of get better at it, but you have to have a divinely instilled nugget of creative talent and inspiration to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And some people don't. A lot of people don't. I remember I like thought everybody did until I was maybe in my 20s. And
Mm-hmm.
I would encounter people who I would try to show them how to play something and they just like couldn't. And I'm like, what's wrong with you?
That's really difficult to know, though. I run into it's fascinating to realize like the stuff like come easy to you is like part of your DNA. And then whenever I encounter people where like it's just not part of them, to be like, hey, that's actually like you guys are both have special gifting and it's beautiful. But in my head, I'm like, how does this not make sense to you? And it's like, because they're
Mhm.
different than you, man. Like, and that's beautiful. But yeah, like 20-year-old me also was like, how can you not do a bar chord? Like, what's wrong with you not being able to do a bar chord? And it's like, they suck. That's why they aren't fun to do. So that's why.
Yeah, they're hard. They require some finger strength.
Yep.
The barred B minor chord is
I think an F. I think an F at the top of the neck is my least favorite. It's just, it's still
Yep.
I get up there and I'm like, I need to like stretch out my pinky? Like I can't.
Mhm.
Getting older, man. Does your daughter sing with you like on stage? Does she ever like come out with your band or if you guys are playing shows around town?
Times, yeah. She hasn't gotten on stage with the Popes, but we've done solo stuff together.
Mm-hmm.
We recorded and released a song together a couple months ago. It's called All the Way Crazy. We co-wrote it. She wrote pretty much all the lyrics. She wrote a complete set of lyrics, and then I came in and helped kind of tighten up certain parts to make them fit the music that we were writing. But it's like mostly her lyrics, and then we collaborated on the music, recorded it, released it, played a show, like a release show here in Aurora where we live. And you can find it. It's just it's under Josh Caterer and Phoebe Caterer.
Mm-hmm.
So she has that's her first, artist credit on
That's awesome.
Spotify.
Since you've, dedicated or a lot of your life is about being a songwriter, making music. What was that like as a dad to have watched your daughter want to join in with that? Like, how'd that feel to you? Or what was your experience like that with that?
Like singing with her is such a joy, and it is like physically satisfying to harmonize. Anytime you can lock in with somebody on a harmony, it like feels good. This is something that
Yeah.
I heard an interview with Suzy Roach of the Roaches.
Okay.
Are you familiar?
I'm not.
They're great. You should check them out, the Roaches.
Okay.
But they're like sisters who have these complex, tight harmonies and great stuff. But I remember hearing an interview with her where she was like, well, something that people don't really talk about is like how good it feels to harmonize with people. It's like you can almost feel it. It just like is gratifying, and it equalizes your serotonin
Mm-hmm.
to do
Yeah.
that, And that's kind of how it feels to harmonize with Phoebe because, we've been singing together for most of her life just naturally without even
Mm-hmm.
necessarily noticing that we were doing it or working on it intentionally. It just has been happening. So that by
Mm-hmm.
the time we start saying, okay, let's write a song together, let's perform together, like we were already so locked in. It's like that blood harmony thing. So it's great. My son also is a musician. He's a really good drummer, and he's played shows with me. He has mostly played with me in church settings. He started becoming a drummer at the church we were attending when he was 11, and then kind of
Yeah.
blossomed from there. And he's talented, but he doesn't have that thing where he has to play music.
Mm-hmm.
Like he could just not play for months at a time and he would be emotionally okay, whereas I wouldn't. And, if you have it wired in
Yeah.
there to like
Yeah.
must make music, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad that he doesn't have that because it frees him up to have a more productive
Yeah.
life where he can become a contractor and actually make money
Yeah.
instead of being like
Yeah.
enslaved to this thing that is becoming like increasingly impossible to make a living off of it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But you
Yeah.
have to do it
Yeah.
because it's wired into you.
Yep. Pretty much. So my kids are all like, 10, 8, and 4.5. And so the way I know how to still keep music as part of like a daily rhythm is just leave the instruments out. So like in our front room, I've got like a bass, a mandolin, and a guitar hanging. and like we've got a piano in there. Because I know the second I put them in like a case, then I'm going to not play it anymore. Do you remember like whenever your kids were younger? Did you? I know you're a songwriter, so it's part of your career. But would you do anything like that? Of like, hey, I've just got a guitar in the room, so if I feel the need to do it, if your kid wants to strum on it, it's there and it's available.
You know, I've never I've never left my instruments out as much as I should.
Okay.
I think that there's like times of flurries of activity where the bands are on tour or I'm working on some project and I've always got a guitar in my hand and then I'll just sort of put it away. I've never had guitars hanging on the wall in my house, but our daughter does. She put a guitar up on the wall in her room, and that's cool. I don't know why I never did that.
Yeah.
Obviously, I've failed as a parent.
No, you haven't. I think it could be like mentally. I mean, like if that's your career, it's how you've made money and stuff. Like if I look at a guitar hanging around, I'm like, I'm just going to strum some chords on this and see what comes out. I could see if it's part of your career, then you mentally could go somewhere else and being like, all right, well, crap, where am I? Do I need to write an album? Where am I? Like you, there's so much more to it than just the casualness of, I'm just going to strum some chords and see what happens.
Maybe also it has to do with, when your kids are growing up, depending on how you look at it. Like, if you're intentionally saying, I want to have instruments out to encourage the free use of these instruments,
Mm-hmm.
I I guess I have always felt like because there's activity here and parenting and life and family stuff happening here, this isn't a place where I can work on stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put my guitar in my case and put it up in whatever, you know, little room that I'm going to go off to. Or a lot of times, when my kids were littler and I wanted to write, I would um go in the car sometimes. And so it's more convenient for me to have the guitar in the case and I could just like carry it out to the car,
Mm-hmm.
drive over to the park or the parking lot of the grocery store and just like park there, get the guitar out, sit in the back seat, spend an hour, you know, and then go back home. But I don't know. I mean, like, if you're working on music or writing anything, can you do that when there are other people in the house who might hear you doing it?
I feel like a noodle more than anything. So like I'm never like writing something to be like I want to turn it into like a song I will then perform. It's kind of like what's a riff I like, what's something that's like connecting in that moment. And then if it sticks later, then I'll come in down into like the space, like in this podcast room and everything, and then I'll record it. But like, yeah, for the most part, it's just like, all right, cool, let me strum. Because reality is yeah, the second I start strumming or I want to plug in an instrument, like actually plug in the bass, then a kid walks over and puts their hand over the bass and says no. So it is.
Right.
So you're not
That's another
wrong.
thing, is that I became aware a long time ago that people don't necessarily want to hear me noodling around. So even if I'm going to do that, I got to go in the car and do it, or go to, if I happen to work somewhere where I have an office, I can go in there and do that. If your office is remote from other people, I've always had this thing where like I just don't want people to hear me doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I'm like noodling around, it's like I'm working on stuff. I'm like
Yeah.
practicing. I always tend to be kind of trying to write something or figuring out a song. And I just don't want people to hear me doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it's really intimate. I think it's really vulnerable. I think it, and like also like I think you and I probably approach songwriting differently where it's never been a career, it's never been something I make money off of. It's just like me noodling around at home. So my expectations are pretty low of what I'm doing. But like that to me that's similar to like I do a lot of baking. And if you came up in the middle of me baking something, you're like, why can't I eat this yet? I'd be like, because there's nothing about this is ready. I haven't like nothing has set. I haven't put it in the oven. Like, go away until I'm ready for you. It's kind of like my energy with that. So like I could see approaching songwriting the same of like, this is nowhere near worth anyone else listening to because it is a mess right now. And it's not up to my standards is the reality. So can you come back when this lives up to my standards and we'll see if I get that.
Yeah. Oh, the number of times I have written a song and played it for my wife on an acoustic guitar
Mhm.
And she says, I like that. That's a good one. And then we go record it with the band, and she
Yeah.
hears the full band version of it, and she's like, no, I liked it better as an acoustic. That has happened enough times where I've learned I'm not going to play her any acoustic songs anymore
Mhm. Yeah.
because she's going to be ultimately disappointed with the outcome.
You know what? She's just looking out. I think, yeah, she's just like, well, if you go tour as just yourself, you've only got to split the paycheck or the ticket sales one way. So she's just trying to encourage you that you're in a band with your brothers, right? She's just trying to cut your brothers out of the band is what she's trying to do.
Right. Well, honestly, the kind of music that she likes is acoustic folk music. I mean, her
Yeah.
favorite artist is Gillian Welch.
Sweet.
That's
Yeah.
or like, like old Willie Nelson records, like very
Hmm.
kind of stripped down acoustic type stuff. That's what she likes. So why she married a rock musician who plays in a pop punk band, we'll never know.
We'll never know. I'll send
Now
you.
she's stuck with me.
That's right. I'll send you. I just saw Dave and Gillian just played out here at Red Rocks, and so I will send you a couple of videos to so your wife can like you a little bit more today. So you can be like, look, this guy saw
Awesome.
this. Isn't that cool?
They're the best. They're just the
They
best.
are. Have you met them? Are you like friends with them as well? Because I have a friend who works with them at their studio and says they are like the best people to work with ever.
That doesn't surprise me. They seem like wonderful people. I've seen interviews and stuff, but no, I have not
Okay.
met them.
Okay. One day. That's another way to win points with your wife is to be like, hey, we're going to go meet Dave and Gillian would be the ultimate
I
husband rock star move.
um and I just because of the genre of the Smoking Popes,
Yeah.
like it would be pretty far fetched for me to meet Dave and Gillian. Like, you know, I could introduce her to the guys in the Descendants,
Yeah, that'd be
but
great. Yeah.
she's not as impressed with that as she would be with Gillian Welch.
Yeah. That's fair. What do you guys do? Like, what's your day job these days? Is songwriter like your main job or do you do anything else at this time?
I drive a school bus.
Nice.
That's a relatively recent day job career. I've just been doing that the last year.
Mm-hmm.
As I mentioned, I I've been making music in churches for a long time and did that for a living. That was my day job for 24 years actually, was working on staff at churches
Mm-hmm.
as a music director, and the last 10 years of it I actually had the title worship pastor.
Okay.
So that was really my way of keeping the lights on and paying the bills, was
Mm-hmm.
working at churches. But I eventually got burned out
Mm-hmm.
on the pastoral part of that. Love playing in churches, and I still am doing that on a volunteer basis. But I reached the end of my tenure as a professional church music guy,
Mm-hmm.
and was like, I need to find something else to do, something that I don't hate. And so I've got a pretty long list of things that I would hate doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just looking for something that doesn't check any of those boxes. And I like driving. I've always, when on tour, I've done most of the driving. And especially when we have toured, like sometimes we've rented a bandwagon. Do you know about bandwagon?
No, I don't. What is that?
It's this company that rents out large vehicles. They're basically giant box trucks that are converted into buses. So they've got bunks
Okay.
and fridges and
Yeah.
kitchens and bathrooms in the back. But they're slightly smaller than a bus. So they're
Okay.
they're just under the weight limit. So you don't need a special license to drive them, but they're essentially a bus. And I have driven those cross country a few times and just really enjoyed the feel of driving huge vehicles. So decided that maybe this is the route that I should take. So I got my Class B license and started driving a school bus, and it's pretty fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm into that.
What grades? Like, did you choose like, are you like elementary, middle, high school? Because I feel like that's got to be different driving experience based on the age of the kids you're driving around.
Yeah, I do. At this point, I do all those.
Okay.
I do the high school route is pretty low key. In fact, in the morning, it'll be a bus full of people who literally aren't saying a word the
Because they're
entire
not
time.
awake.
Yeah, they're just sitting there like zombies, sort of like barely conscious. And the middle school kids have more energy, and they're the ones that you have to kind of you have to pull over occasionally and be like, all right, guys, cut that out.
Yeah.
You know, we can't use that kind of language on the bus.
Do you have
And
a
that sort of thing.
good do you have a good angry dad voice? Do you have a good angry like, hey, not gonna like? Do you have that voice ready to go at all times on the bus?
I have found that the anger that I would express towards my kids, I try not to use that on these kids, middle school kids. I want them to I kind of want to like there's a different fence that I'm trying to walk with them where I want them to understand that there's certain things that I'm not going to put up with on this bus, but like I'm not going to be a jerk about it. And I don't need to get angry about it because, like, if you're getting angry, I think this is part of the parent thing is like, part of what I'm getting mad about is that I'm the one that has to deal with this and like solve this problem.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I have ultimate responsibility for this thing, and that makes me unhappy.
Yeah.
As a bus driver, I can tell you, like, hey, you need to stop doing that. And if you keep doing it, that's okay. I'll just write you up and turn that into the school,
Yeah.
and they'll deal with it. And they'll
Gotcha.
tell your parents, and your parents will have to deal with you about it. So
Yeah.
I don't have ultimate responsibility. So there's no reason for me to get mad at you
That makes sense.
unless you're like, punching me.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense because, yeah, as like a parent, like your escalations are something like you and your wife or partner agree on of like, okay, if they don't do this, then we did it. Whereas, like, yeah, he was like, cool, I'm going to write you up, going to hand you off to this person. And they have an escalation system that they've agreed upon that this is my part in it. And then I'm good.
Yeah. Also, tell me if you agree with this. I'm just sort of realizing this now is that a lot of the anger and frustration that you would express towards the child of your own is that they're doing something that is sort of messing up some other plans that you had. Like I'm trying to do this thing over here and you're interrupting that.
Yeah. Correct.
I'm trying to watch TV. I'm trying to write a song. I'm trying to drive the car and just get where we're going. But like as a bus driver, like this is my job to be driving a large container of small humans from one place to another and keeping an eye on them. And so whatever they're doing and the extent to which I need to manage that and intervene in that, that's like part of my job. That's what I'm here for, right?
Yeah.
So they're not interrupting me.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm trying to listen to the radio and they're interrupting me. It's like there's no radio in there. There's me listening to them to make sure that they're not abusing each other and
Yeah, right. Yeah.
using Goodfellas like language.
It is different because, like, yeah, right now, if I'm home with all three of my kids during the summer and it's like, okay, we need to go to the grocery store because we ate all the food. There's always one kid it's a negotiation with. There's always one kid who's like, but I don't want to go. Then I'm like, well, do you like eating? Because if you want to keep then I'm like, well, that sounds, how do I say that where it doesn't sound like aggressive? And I'm like making them feel shame because I'm like, we can't eat food unless we go do this. It's like, no, that's not. So you also have to like know what your control level is with your kids to get them to go do the outcome that the entire family wants, but also not make them feel dumb because they don't want to do it, but also they don't want to do it. So yeah, that's what you're managing at home with kids. Whereas like on a bus, it's like, hey, just stop doing that or else I'll write you up. It's maybe I should institute, can I do a write-up system for my kids this summer? Should I do that?
Right. I think that's the equivalent of like sometimes my wife would adopt an almost bus driver-esque mentality where she's like, I'm going to tell your dad that you've done this.
Yeah.
And, you don't want that. Because, I don't know. It's not like I've been this super threatening presence, but it's just like dad, if dad gets pissed about something, like it's just going to be a little more unpleasant rather than, if mom gets mad, they've almost found it amusing.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they're trying to get mom upset because they like how she sounds when she gets mad or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, my parents didn't do that. My mom was like, "Oh no, I'll take care of this myself." It was kind of her mentality. And like, as a dad, I also don't like, I'm not a fan of that because then like you walk in a door and someone's like, you need to take care of this. And you're like, I don't even know what happened. I don't know the context. I just know you're really mad. It seems like they did something to make you mad. So like, I want to do right by all parties involved. And like me just coming in and telling the kids, how dare you do this, is like, it's usually more nuanced than that. Or sometimes your kids are just being a jerk. So I hate that setup because I would never want to do that to my wife either. There's like, you need to come in here and fix this. It's like, well, that's okay. Just say, hey, I need help with something. Let's figure this out together. That's different. That's a very different tone.
Yeah, it's very complicated.
It is. How's with you driving the school bus as your main gig? Whenever you I know you're going on tour this summer. How does your like regular job line up with like you going on tour, or how do you manage all of that?
Well, that's another great thing about about driving a school bus as a career is
Yeah.
that you can take your whole summer off
Yeah.
and you can just schedule all your tour stuff for the summer months. Whereas before, when I was working at churches, I always had to, I was always vying for a little more time off and seeing if I could work with them to get a few extra weeks off, like unpaid or something, so I could go and do a West Coast tour and stuff. And now it's just built in.
That's awesome.
So it's great.
Yeah. I've talked to a couple other musicians like Todd Bell from like Hey Mercedes / Braid. Yeah, he's a special education teacher. He's like, yeah, if you notice, we tour basically just during the summer. It's because of that. It's when's Todd available? June and July and like early August. So let's get it done.
Yep. Yeah, those aren't good months to like go on tour in, say, Florida.
No. Yeah.
But no, it's good to have that kind of flexibility where you know that you can do a certain amount of touring without having to jump through a lot of hoops to get the time off. So it's great.
Yep. Like, what's your relationship with touring with being a dad now that your kids are grown versus like whenever they were younger?
For most of the time that they were younger, I would tour like a few weeks out of the year. I think I was doing like, there would be maybe, because a lot of the churches that I was working in is like I would get 2 weeks paid vacation. And
Yeah.
of course I would use that all up on a West Coast tour. And then I would try to see if I could get like another week off to do like, you can squeeze in like a little northeaster tour and go up to New York and Philly and stuff. And you can do that in a week and come back to Chicago. So it was never like an amount of touring that was really cutting in to my family life that much. There was like a season in there where like I was trying to push a little harder and tour more. It was like right when the popes got back together in 2005 and then into 2006, it was like, it seemed like there was a certain amount of momentum surrounding the reunion. And we were like, let's kind of see if we can turn that into something. And so I was doing some extra touring, only like working basically part-time at my church, and I had plenty of flexibility to do that.
Yeah.
But that just wasn't great family-wise. It made my wife feel like kind of like she was a single mom a lot of those times if I was gone for 2 or 3 weeks at a time. And I just I felt like that wasn't right.
Yeah. Mhm.
And she felt like that wasn't right. And we, there was tension between us because of it.
Yeah.
And also like I could just sense in my relationship with the kids that there wasn't the kind of presence that they needed to have from their dad. So that was relatively short-lived. Then just a couple years ago when our youngest moved out, I started ramping things up again, and we started doing a lot of touring. Like in 2024, we we were gone for, I don't know, we did the whole country with opening for the Get Up Kids on their
Yeah.
big something to write home about
25th
tour.
anniversary. Yeah.
Yeah. So we were gone for like, it was maybe like 5 weeks. We were out with them.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It was like, yeah, the kids have moved out, but then also that just kind of sucks for the relationship between my wife and I to leave for that long. So
Mhm.
I discovered that, like, I don't know. I mean, I love playing shows and I like getting out to the West Coast every now and again to do that, but like
Mhm.
the whole full-time touring thing just, it sort of isn't worth the price that you pay relationally at home for, to have the kind of connection with the people you truly love.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, like, if right now I was like, "Hey, I'm just gonna go leave for a month from my family," like, that's a lot, and that's a lot to ask of my like, it makes a ton of sense. It's always interesting to me whenever you are, like, a creative type. It's like an expectation of like, "Oh, Josh, you should be willing to go tour for 5 weeks," and it's like, what about your day-to-day life? Like, what about like, that stuff is it takes a hit. People are accommodating for it, and it's, all something to navigate.
Mhm. Yep. Yeah, I mean, we recently, like, we are doing some summer touring, but
Yeah.
there was a West Coast leg of our tour that we booked and ended up canceling. Like, part of it was financial as we watched, like, fuel prices just creep up and up and up, and it was like it became evident that, like, financially it was making less and less sense to do that tour, but also
Yeah.
that tour was like 3.5 weeks long.
Mhm.
And I just was starting to have regrets about that. Like I kind of sort of was realizing that, like, I shouldn't really do that anymore. It's like it's hard on um it's hard on my marriage to do that. It's just to kind of have the closeness um between my wife and I that I feel like it just becomes more and more important to me, even though, like,
Mhm.
we're through the years where we're like raising kids together. But I don't know. I just feel like it's, as far as where we're at in our lives, we're like in our fees now, and I don't know. There's a kind of a, I don't. It's hard to describe, but there's something about the. I keep talking about rhythms, like the rhythms of our lives,
Mhm.
but like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
way that we have built kind of like rhythms together relationally that seem like we are building a life together in this season that is like we're sort of discovering things about
Yeah.
ourselves and like supporting each other in ways that we like haven't before, and it's really cool and it's kind of precious, and it's even more meaningful to me than some of the things that we shared together when we were younger. And it's like I have less and less of a desire to like leave that behind for basically a month to go off and play shows. It's like I don't even think that's a good idea. So that was like definitely a
Mhm.
factor in like playing
Yeah.
those shows, like canceling that leg of the tour. Is like I think that's just too long to be gone from home.
Mhm.
So, I don't know if anybody listening to this had tickets to see us in Portland, Oregon, but
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
if
right?
that's, if you did, sorry, those were some of the considerations. Is like, I think I booked too long of a tour and started to regret it,
Yeah.
you know.
I think that's extremely human. Yeah, because I mean, it is like you and your wife are in this next chapter of your life and of your relationship and your marriage of like, okay, we just raised kids. We guess we were successful parents because they went to college, they left the house and stuff. Like they're independent and on their
Yeah.
own is usually like the
They're
standard
functional
definition of
adults
like a
now.
successful parent. And now it's like, okay, exactly. And so now you and your wife, like genuinely, I think it's beautiful. And I hope my wife and I enter into that phase at some point in time too, of like, okay, now we get to like rediscover each other. We just went through like a marathon of raising kids, figuring all this out. So like, who are we now? What experiences do we get to have now? Like, what do we get to like start our next journey on together? And it's hard to start the next journey with someone you love dearly if you're not around. So that's a lot to
Yeah.
balance with also a lot of your career being performing, being out and about for.
Yeah. And like, part of that, there's a lot of layers to that. Like part of it is like
Mhm.
having somewhat recently retired from professional church ministry. Part of that was that we decided to leave that church that I was working at because it didn't feel like a great
Mhm.
fit. And to find a different church that sort of resonated with us, a church that neither of us were going to be employed at, a place that we just felt genuinely drawn to.
Mhm.
And we have found that place and just about 6 months ago started going to this new church. And like, we love it and feel like we're sort of getting spiritual roots down and kind of like
Yeah,
taking a spiritual journey together in
that's
this
great.
really cool way where we're like growing in our relationship with God together
Yeah.
and in the process growing closer to each other. And like,
Mhm.
it's a beautiful thing. I like that. I
Yeah.
like it. It's like
Yeah.
not, so far I'm enjoying my 50s a lot.
Good. I used to run sound for churches or like do because I went to Belmont, studied audio engineering. And like once you peek behind that curtain or you do more work at a church, it is very difficult to be a member of that church as well. Cause you just, you know, too much. You look like, I would look at everything from like, oh, they didn't turn that mic on correctly. Oh, they didn't do that. And I'm like, you are completely mentally out of the entire purpose of going to a church service now. Your logistics, you're thinking of it from all this vantage point. And then I'm just like, oh, well, now I'm only going to associate this church with working it. So like, how do I sometimes just a new start, going somewhere else is the best way to just get a clean slate and know that and like just start something new.
Yep. Yep. And like joining a worship team as a volunteer and not being in
Mm-hmm.
charge of it is like
So different.
so refreshing.
Yeah.
And I'm so much more blessed by it. And like attending services that I didn't have a hand in planning them. And
Yeah.
I wasn't at the staff meeting that week to see
Mm-hmm.
how the sausage was made. I'm just like
Yep.
there experiencing it like everybody else. Like at least at this season in my life, it has a healing quality because I
Yeah.
think I got really like
Yeah.
I got I mean I used the phrase burned out, but like part of it was like I just felt like my whole concept of going to a church got sort of skewed
Mm-hmm.
by working at one for so long. I actually worked at a few different churches, and I'm not down on people who like get paid for ministry, but like in my particular case, I felt like I needed to take a break from that. I don't know. This is a different
Yeah.
rabbit trail
No,
that we're going down. This is
it
a very
is.
rabbit traily
Trust me,
kind of a conversation that we're having.
you're welcome. No, man, that's as someone who has volunteered, helped out at churches and stuff. Is now if I go to a church, I honestly I don't tell them I know how a board works because I know once I start rolling that ball down the hill, I'm gonna be like, well, you need someone to volunteer. Oh, you need this to be better. Oh, you need. Then I'm going to take over, and then I've changed my relationship with why I went to the church in the first place because my assumption is I can be helpful here, and but then I'm not like feeding myself. I'm not like feeding my relationship with God. I've completely like changed what the relationship with these services because of a skill set I have that is not a common skill set. So it's freaking complicated and it makes everything messy. So trust me, I am right there with you.
Yes, it is, man.
How I end every episode is ask every guest a series of 5 questions. They're not rapid fire, so you have time to think about them and everything. And the first question is, did you have any backup names for your kids? Like, did you have anything that you almost named them?
Okay, with our son, we ended up with Elliot, but we wanted something that sort of like had this sophisticated kind of old school British feel to it. So
Mm-hmm.
I remember feeling like William or Charles was like a possibility. And I think the reason why those got
Yeah.
ruled out was because if you name him William, they're going to call him Will, which is fine, but it's just like, no, we don't want that shortened version of it. And if you call him Charles, it's going to be Charlie or Chuck. And like, we don't want that.
Mm-hmm.
So Elliot, it's like, you can't really shorten that. That's his full name. And that's what people call him, is Elliot. And plus, like,
Mm-hmm.
it was like one of my favorite guitar players ever is Elliot Easton from the Cars. And so
Nice.
I got to sneak in a little reference to that. But so William and Charles were there. With Phoebe, the other close runner up was Penelope. And we just felt like
Yeah.
her name should start with a P. But again, it was like, if we name her Penelope, they're going to call her Penny.
Yeah.
And which is fine for somebody named Penny. I'm not saying that's bad, but like in our case, we just didn't want to shorten it. So her name is Phoebe and people call her Phoebe. But what we didn't realize is that if you have a daughter named Phoebe, you end up making up a bunch of crazy nicknames like Phoebes,
Phoebes. Yeah.
Phoebo. You just kind of like, we changed it to Squeebs at one point. Just
Nice.
any kind of variation of that. But, you know, that's all just like sort of in-house stuff.
Yeah.
For all
Yeah.
practical purposes, we're still calling her Phoebe.
Nice. It is fun. We did the same with our kids of like, okay, if we name them this, what are the nicknames? What are the other names that could be called from this? And then going down that list, like my middle child's name is Magnolia, and we call her Noli for short. We're always like, never Maggie. Maggie implies Margaret. Your name's not Margaret. And it's like, no one's ever like, that's not just stop. Like, I'm already anticipating it. And it's like, stop it. Like, calm it down. But I have that ready, like at all times. And it's like, because you run into that situation so often, man, you know?
Yep, you do.
Next question is, do you have a favorite TV or movie dad, or one that comes to mind whenever I ask that question?
TV dad. Trying to think of my favorite shows. I mean, like one of my favorite movies that I just rewatched. I kind of almost annually rewatch this, is The Shining. But that's not a very good example of what fatherhood should look like.
I will give you the Stephen King answer for that, though, because Stephen King's father abandoned him. And at least even if his father was chasing him with her croquet mallet through the Stanley Hotel trying to murder him, yeah, I'm going accurate. I'm going book, not Stanley Kubrick. He at least had a father there to chase him to his death. So, you know.
So even Jack Torrance gets dad points.
Even he gets he was you still have to be present to attempt to murder. No, that's awful. I can't even say that.
Okay. No, I think movie-wise, like you can't go wrong with like Atticus Finch.
Yeah.
He's kind of like, man, if you could pick
Yeah.
a dad, it'd be Atticus Finch, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be. Next question. What's like your go-to replacement curse word? You worked in churches, you've done all this stuff. What would you say whenever super frustrated that isn't a curse word, but you wanted to say a curse word?
I guess some variation of frick or freaking. What the frick are you talking about?
That's awesome. That also feels especially Midwestern dad to say, oh, what the frick?
You think that's Midwestern? Yeah, I don't know.
To me, I mean, I said it with a very stereotypical Minnesotan, Wisconsin-esque accent. So, I mean, to me, frick feels very, but I'm also from Indiana, so it feels very familiar to me as well.
Man, I'm becoming more and more aware of these Midwestern things that I thought were universal.
Yeah.
One of those, I just realized this is a regional thing, is that if somebody says thanks, instead of saying you're welcome, you go, yep.
Yep. Yep. Yep. Now you need to do a head nod with it too. Yep. You have to do, I do a head nod too. I'm like, yep. 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 No, yep. 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 My favorite Midwestern, I feel like it's Midwestern, or I've been told it's Midwestern, is the no, yeah. Hey, do you want to go do
Oh
this?
yeah.
No, yeah, I do. It's very like ingrained in me. My wife hates it. She's like, it's like you're saying maybe, possibly, definitely, and it's like those are all different. Those all mean different things. I'm like, well, maybe, possibly, for certain, and she's like, stop being this person.
It's all like you just have to. It's like in the inflection. Like you have to say it in
Yeah,
such a way where like the people know
yeah,
what you
no,
mean. Yeah, no.
yeah, 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 no, yeah, yeah. You drag out the first word. You go, no, yeah, 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 yeah. Have you ever heard this before? No, yeah. Yeah, I have.
Or like, are you a fan of Dave Matthews? Yeah, no.
No, yeah, no. Where I
Yeah,
thought, like,
no.
he's
Yeah,
pretty good
no.
at guitar, but I don't listen to him. So no.
Yeah, no. Like you're always like
Yeah,
trying
no.
to soften something. Like you don't want to just say no.
Yeah, yeah.
So you say
You're trying to
yeah.
not feel like too much of a jerk. Yeah,
Yeah,
correct. Yeah.
and then you're gonna couch it. It's like a no sandwich. The no is the meat, but you put a couple of
No,
slices of yeah around it.
Yep, yep. Which also feels very Midwest nice to me. If someone's like, hey, do you
Mhm.
want to go eat here? I'm like, no, yeah, no. It's a journey. It's a journey. Next question. What's like one of your favorite like activities, or like what was like a favorite toy that you would play with your kids whenever they were younger?
I had some of the toys that I had when I was a kid. I'd kept them and like you know passed them on to our kids. We had quite a collection of Matchbox cars
Mm.
and Hot Wheels cars that I and my brothers had played with when we were kids. Our kids would play with those, and it depends on what sort of like a rug situation you have. If you have like a rug that has any kind of pattern on it, you can like
Mm-hmm.
pretend like you're driving the
Yeah.
cars around like a little neighborhood or whatever. So always that kind of stuff. And then little, like when the kids were real little, we had this Fisher Price barn that had all these pieces in it. It has like a little plastic tractor and little plastic cows and sheep and stuff in it, and a little farmer guy that you can put into the tractor
Mm-hmm.
because there's a little hole where he will fit. That kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. And then last question for you is like, what's like go-to parenting advice? Like, someone you meet someone, they're about to be a dad, something like that. What would like piece of advice that you tell them? What would that be?
Okay. I'm going to like looking back
Yeah.
on my own parenting experience. Like I'm looking at moments that I would regret. Like if there was a way that I could have avoided those,
Mm-hmm.
it was always that if I would have let something annoy me and then I'm acting from a place of annoyance. Like you really have to watch out for that. Like if your kid does something like makes some bad like mistake and it's something big, I feel like it's almost easier to be chill about that because you're like, wow, okay, we have to deal with this. And my wife and I will have a conversation like, what are we going to do
Mm-hmm.
here? And we sit down with the kid and we talk through it and come up with some consequences and boundaries or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And like you can handle that stuff more easily than if you're just sort of irritated.
Yeah. Huh? Yeah.
Like you're just like like one of those times when you're like trying to do something and your kid kind of interrupts you and you're a little bit on edge. Like look for those moments and watch what you say.
Mm-hmm.
Cause like, I have found myself being a little short with my kids, like just saying something a little bit like angrily
Mm-hmm.
to them to get this cut it off.
Mm-hmm.
Um and like I've ended up being like kind of a jerk to them in ways that I really regretted. So don't let you have to watch out for that. And because the things that cause that seem really like trivial and surfacey, you're almost not looking for that. But watch out for that and don't let that don't just like react from a place of being annoyed cuz then you'll end up those moments just stick with you. I can,
Yeah. Yeah.
remember little times when I would turn and was short with my kids in some way. And I was just like, that was jerky. I wish I hadn't done that. And if I apologize later, they don't think it was a big deal, but it
Yeah.
sticks in my memory.
Yep.
I'm like,
Yeah.
just watch out for that.
Yeah. I think I think kids make you aware of what like your standard for kindness is. And then they give you lots of opportunities to realize that you weren't living up to your standard of kindness. So it's like,
Mhm.
I responded harshly. Why? Because I'm trying to get stuff done and my efficiency monster is raging. And they're like, cool. Well, your kid just heard you be like, stop it. And that's the tone if they recognize that tone of voice with you, that's not being the type of dad I ever hope to be. So how do I not live
Right.
in that energy?
And I feel like this is something that people don't necessarily say. When you're having kids, people are going to tell you, oh, when your kids are little, you're not going to get a lot of sleep. So be aware of that. Okay. I already knew that. And as they get older, they're going to make like bad decisions that are going to like sometimes be, difficult to like work through and that sort of thing. And it's like, you know all that. But what people don't tell you is that, especially when your kids are like younger, like 2 and older, like 2 through 10 or 12, is that even though you love them and you know that they are these precious gifts, they also can be very, very annoying. And just like you're almost surprised at how annoyed you can get at your own kids. Like you're just like,
Yeah.
ugh.
Yeah. Just give me a second. Just give me 1 second. Yeah.
It's like whatever they're doing, it feels like the equivalent of someone coming up and just like tapping you on the forehead or something. Like, "Ugh,
Just go away. Just give me 5
go away."
seconds. Yep.
So get ready to be annoyed at the people you love the most.
Yep.
And if you can handle that and like subvert that annoyance or overlook it and don't react from a place of annoyance, like that
Yeah.
is the best kind
Yep.
of parenting you can do.
Yep. It is. And then last thing for you is just like moment for self promotion. So, like Instagram handles, how would they find out more about your tour, band website, all that good stuff?
Smoking Popes Music. So at Smoking Popes Music on Instagram. On Facebook, we had to go with the Smoking Popes because Smoking Popes was taken.
Of course it was.
So technically there is no the in our band name, but we had to put a the there on Facebook. Website is also Smoking Popes Music. And yeah, we've got some summer tour dates coming up. Mostly out east, not out west. Although we are
Yeah.
flying in for our LA shows. So if you live anywhere near LA and you want to come see us,
Yeah.
we're doing 2 nights at Zebulon with Nerf Herder. Those are going
That's
to be
pretty
great.
cool. That's pretty cool. And us
Yeah.
out here, like in Denver, we'll be just sitting here, showing up at Lost Lake still, just waiting for you guys, hoping that you show up some.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe we could live stream a concert there
That'd be
for
great.
you.
Yeah.
But
I'll go talk to Lost Lake and be like, hey, can we just like live stream a show of the Popes? Can we do that instead? And we'll see how that goes.
yeah. Hey, we
Yeah.
did it during COVID. Why not now?
That's true. That's true. But yeah, Josh, that's pretty much what I've got for you. I'll edit the episode. I'll probably release it like the second Monday in June or something like that. That way to try to get out of there, help you promote the tour dates and all the good stuff. But for the most part, I'm gonna go pick up my son from pre-K and enjoy. And like honestly, that'll stick in my head is like, hey, whenever it seems like he's annoying you, like just take a breath, take a beat, and like, hey, these are precious moments, even though they're annoying at the moment. So genuinely, thank you for connecting. And that is like it's a good recentering thing. So I appreciate that. And thanks for spending the time to do a call with me. It means a lot to me.
I enjoyed it a lot. This was a great interview.
Thank you.
The good interviews are the ones that don't feel like interviews. They feel like you're just having a conversation. And that's a skill. It's a skill that not every interviewer has. So you're real good at it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That is also on my list of things where I'm like, oh, everyone can do this, right? And then people keep telling me like, no, they cannot.
Not everyone can do it. Less than half of the people can do it.
Genuinely, that means a lot to me. Thank you very much. That's it's nice to be encouraged and seen. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Devin.
Perfect. Enjoy your day, Josh. I'll catch you next time.
You too. Bye.
All right. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the episode. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at the Imperfect Dads Podcast. And make sure to give us 5 stars wherever you listen to us. Music, editing, and production is all done by me. Make sure to tune in on Mondays and most Thursdays for new episodes. This podcast is part of the Never a Face Network. Make sure to go to neverafacenetwork.com to learn more about them.